Hey everyone, welcome to the KE Report in a daily editorial on Thursday, August 7th, chatting with Joel Elconin. Joel is the co-host of the PreMarket Prep show. Check out the PreMarket Prep website in the show notes, as well as the Stock Trader Network, a new website, a new network Joel has founded. Joel, as we always do, we're going to talk markets, and quite frankly, at the tail end of last week, we were talking to you and the mood was pretty sour. The markets were moving down. But that seems to have changed again. And really, what seems to drive markets is politics. We hear something out of Trump, that drops the market. We don't hear anything for a couple days. Markets fight back. Maybe he stays quiet for a little bit longer and makes comments that aren't so market focused. Markets keep melting higher. And then Trump comes out and attacks some other company or some other sector, and the markets drop on the back of that. Joel, how do we make sense of these markets, which again seem to still have a bias to the upside until Trump says something out of left field?
Are you trying to get me the truth, you or something?
I'm just trying to
I
understand.
don't
Like,
know
it
the
seems like
truth.
the momentum's higher here.
Well, good afternoon. Thanks for having me. Sorry I was a little bit of a Debbie Downer last week. A little bit more even keeled today. Market did stage nice recovery. I think what you got to do is you got to sit down and you got to look at your portfolio. You got to look at the stocks that you're trading and saying, the administration's behind these stocks and they're not behind these stocks. And it's very apparent where the price action is, what's being dictated, who is making friends with the president, and who isn't. Just take, for example, when Musk was moseying up to Trump, the price performance you have. So, in all my years of observing the markets, I have never seen such fluctuations based on, I don't know if I want to use the word nonsense, but just to give you an example, we had a good day yesterday. We had some follow through. Oh, there's talk of 100% tariffs on chip companies unless you're a chip company that manufactures in the US. Okay, well, what the hell does that mean? Okay, also, the market was up. Putin and Trump are sitting down today having a few cocktails and figuring out the war. By noon, that was off the table. So you just have to, be aware. I know a lot of your investors are not day traders or maybe swing traders or long-term traders. But right now, you just have to pay attention to the headlines and you have to decide whether or not stocks in your portfolio are being in favor with the administration or they're not.
Well, speaking of that theme of the on again, off again, it seems like certain companies have appeased the Trump administration to the point where they've gotten some exclusions or things in the policy have worked to their favor. And there's other companies that have gotten on the wrong side. We were talking off mic about the fall in a number of healthcare stocks and how healthcare has been on the chopping block. Maybe speak to some of the stocks that we were discussing and the crash we've seen today in a couple of healthcare names.
If it's not air apparent to you, what's going on with Bobby Kennedy, Robert Kennedy Jr., is the administration is against big pharma. And they're against, they want to lower drug prices. They want to rechange the entire health insurance structure in the United States, which I don't know how in the world you're going to do that. But Lilly today beat and raised guidance. The stock is down 14%, over $100. Oh, well, their Ozempic only produced a 12% average weight loss reduction as opposed to 15. Hogwash. Throw it out the window. These stocks, this sector, and we'll go into UNHs in a second, is not in favor with the administration. I don't know tariffs. I don't know the whole tariff situation with drug companies, but they are caught in the crosshairs of what's the politics that's going on in this market. And I think just to say it again and reiterate it. Never has politics dictated so much market price action. Did you guys see what happened in American Eagle Outfitters earlier in the week?
Lay it on me, Joel. What did happen?
So Trump tweeted out about a commercial of a young lady that's like a Republican. And I believe she's an actress. And He said, and she has new jeans out for American Eagle. He tweeted out that the jeans are flying off the shelves, that this girl is so smart, and she's not like, I hate to use this word, but he said she's nothing like the woke Taylor Swift and then our woke Jaguar. And that stock, American Eagle Outfitters, a stock that is just made its all-time high in early 2021, traded under $10 as late as June, had a move, on Monday from 1074 to 1328. And the only catalyst was Trump tweeting about her commercial and her jeans.
Isn't it also a meme stock, though, Joel? Because the meme stalkers have been after American Eagle Outfitters the last couple of weeks, and when they saw that announcement out of the White House, they just jumped on it on their Reddit boards and forced it higher.
Yeah, I can see the price action. I mean, it did get the bump from 10 to 12, but it pulled back to 11. So yeah, it was fodder for them. And actually on that day, you know how I love my technicals. On that day, when it went from 1074 to 1328, it settled a penny off the high of the day. It has not crossed $13 since. That was the last 3 days. So you got to be careful with these stocks. Sell them when they're going up, because once they turn, they turn. I mean, I guess from a positive standpoint, you can say it's less than a buck off that high. But the reason I'm talking about this is because just I want to illustrate what is going on in this market and the market dynamics that you may not want to pay attention to, but you have to.
You do. You absolutely have to. I think that's being driven home to everybody in these markets when they see big moves in their stocks. They try to figure out why, and it's usually coming from something Trump said, whether good or bad. Joe, you're bringing up something to us off mic too, that was the small caps, the discrepancy between where the small caps are and where the triple Qs are. Some of these high flying tech stocks, really just sector differences here. But what are you seeing? What is this discrepancy and what does it mean to you?
Well, first let me just talk about the S&P, the most insulated index. I guess when you have 500 stocks, right? The rotation, the lifeblood of that index is rotation, and it seizes it every day. I mean, you can even see on a day like today, you have Lilly down 13%. You have a lot of stocks that are down, 0.5% to 1%. You got Apple traded up 3%. You have Nvidia in the green. You have Robinhood up 4%, AMD up 5%. So that's they just, and Friday was kind of where they came for the generals and the admirals. But overall, that index is more insulated. IWM needs lower interest rates, right? Well, along with lower interest rates, which, from the jobs data last week kind of gave an indication, is that the economy is slowing, that we're going to need lower interest rates, that things are bad. So the glass is half full with that, and I'm sure it's still the same. The IWM is trading at its lowest ratio to the triple Qs ever. I mean, those stocks are just out of favor. And what's been in favor is the big tech stocks. And, it made that all-time high at the end of the year. But what these stocks, these small companies need is they need some interest rate relief, the lower rates. Is it coming? Is it not coming? Is Powell getting fired? I mean, it's very hard to predict. But if you just look at it from a perspective of, okay, the IWM is in the same place that it was in 2021. Is that a place you want to put your money?
Yeah, it's a little startling that it hasn't moved. And Joel, we've been talking to you, I think, for years now about the laggard trade and would the small caps ever catch up? And you have been on the right side of this trade. So just a hat tip to you. You have said over and over again that the big leadership is going to stay the leadership. And that's exactly what's happened. The S&P 500 and the NASDAQ have led the charge higher. And the small caps, with some isolated exceptions, have lagged for years now. If the Fed does decide to finally cut in September, because I think it's like 88% odds that they do now, Does that give the small caps a lift finally?
I mean, what if you get some hot inflation data this week? I mean, it could, it will, but I think another thing that you have to look under the hood with the IWM is some of the stocks that are in the IWM, and some of those stocks are biotech companies. Where do biotech companies fall on the Trump spectrum? They fall in the ditch. So they not only are they not, interest rate, a favorable interest rate environment for them, but they're also out of favor with the administration. So they're not, there's different components of the IWM, but that's a factor. That's a factor that's weighing on it is these biotechs just said, they can't seem to catch a bid. And the thing about those companies is they do need money. They do need lower rates. They do need stuff to finance trials and everything. So, yeah, I think the song remains the same here for the IWM.
Is it also just not uncertainty because of how inconsistent Trump is with who he goes after that, quite frankly, the small caps, they don't have the capital to weather storms for nearly as long as this might last. And quite frankly, they don't have the capital to get in front of Trump and appease him so that he comes out with positive comments regarding them.
No, they don't. They don't. I mean, look what Tim Cook did to his company. Look at the market cap. I mean, think about, we invested another 100 billion in building US, which we can go into 1,000 different tangents on that. But how much did they add in market cap in the last 2 days? I mean, the stock is up $18. So the biggest moves and insulated to the sell-off today. And that stock was absolutely pounded off its earnings report on Friday. What's changing the fundamentals in Apple? Where are they catching up in AI? What are their new products? I mean, are you guys going to buy a new iPhone tomorrow and then the day after? I mean, it's still Apple, but the bid is there and it's sustained. And also, if you look at it from it's kind of like a staple now, it's just a cash generated. Plus, you got the buyback. So I'm looking at that up 3% today and just shaking my head. Because I was asked about it yesterday on our networks, and I'm like, it was the first day of a move. So usually it's a lot of times there's a 2 day move and a 3 day move. So we'll see how things pan out tomorrow with the optionality. But it broke through the bottom of the trading range that it held for the entire month of July, and now it's above the top of the trading range. So is it the greatest fade ever? Well, maybe, but that remains to be seen.
Yeah, I think it's a good point that these larger tech companies are insulated from some of the market madness. And like you say, they added so much in market cap that even the commitments they've made to spend here domestically pale in comparison to how much the valuation of the company is going up. But you also brought up earnings there and people's reaction to it. Anything else on your radar, Joel, as far as Q2 earnings that's come in that you thought was worth noting to the upside or the downside?
Well, don't miss. Don't miss. If your stock's in the gutter, don't miss. And those stocks are just being annihilated. And today, with the beat and raise and the Lilly, that's a little bit concerning. So I think overall, the reaction to earnings, and for the most part, has been, if it's having a huge move in a pre-market and it catches a bid, for example, your Canadian tech company, Shopify, did you see what that did yesterday?
Oh, yeah. That's been a
Yeah.
standout in Canada.
Yep. If you thought, this is too high, this is too much, 20, you got absolutely annihilated. That stock rallied $10 from its opening low up to 155. You're seeing a little profit taking in it today. Very few, like one that's held up extremely well, and it was volatile in its report is Palantir, but that's a love stock that's loved by retail, that's loved by Trump. All the factors are in line. Did you see what they put in their press release with their earnings? They said we crushed estimates, is what they put in their head. If that's not alerting the algos, I don't know what the hell is.
Are they even supposed to be saying that they've crushed estimates in a press release to the market?
I'm not aware.
Joel, what about guidance then? In terms of the guidance aspect, we still hear a lot about uncertainty when it comes to guidance, but it almost seems so common now that it's not having the same impact.
If it's if it's got like AMD, for example, right? A little uncertain with the guidance, a little uncertainty with China and you getting their chips over there. Well, today that news that changes it all, right? If there's going to be more favorable terms, so guiding lower is a death sentence. Guiding higher is not actually, guaranteed. I mean, in Lilly is an exception today. So earnings have been okay. You have heard, who was it? Celsius, I heard today. They put in their Celsius holding up $8 off, once again, off the high of the session. They said, well, our results were not materially impacted by tariffs yet. So there's still that wording in there, but right now, earnings season's been okay.
Well, Joel, as we look to the end of the week, we've noted in the past that often on Friday there's a propensity to make a new low or a new high. You were mentioning to us off mic that it doesn't look like that's going to be the case this week when you look at the S&P 500 index. So, what do you make of what's going to happen tomorrow as we wrap up the week?
I don't see, and let me see if I got any. There's really no, but I think it's just going to be a digestion day. I mean, of course, if keep your eye on True Social. You don't have many big earnings reports after the close. There's really no economic data coming out. The Fed balance sheet's not till after the close. I will say that, and I wish I would have paid more attention to it myself. And the market, the media like ourselves always are looking for excuses why the market are going, up or down. But there was a little lack of demand at the 10-year T-note auction. Or was it the 10-year? Yeah. Oh no, 30-year. There was a 30-year bond auction today, and I think I saw a headline where there was a little bit of light demand. But you know what? The direction of the market for the day after the much higher opening had already took place.
Joel, real quick, you know how we like to talk precious metals. Those are back getting a bid. Maybe it is this whole uncertainty trade, which is pushing people into the big tech stocks. And also, it looks like precious metals, but this is even as the dollar is more or less kind of moved sideways. It's been volatile, but still, precious metals seem to be back in favor, especially gold. Your thoughts?
Well, I told you a while ago, I mean, I'm the biggest catalyst for both the gold and the silver market. I did a little asset reallocation a while ago and dumped the GLD and the GDX that I've held since COVID to put into some other vehicles. Also, I was holding some physical silver and was sick of it just hanging out. The SLV is now near 35, and so I sold out a little bit of silver. What I'd say is that the GLD, the gold chart, is developing a monthly wall here. And I can give you the ranges here. The all-time high, 317.63 is the all-time high. You eclipse that, or you got near that in June, going to 317.60. But if I'm looking at the monthlies and I'm looking at when this makes reversals and stuff, a lot of times you're actually where this is the fifth month. So you can look at it as just another consolidation to go higher and break it out again, or it's forming a short term or long term top. But GLD looks a little more top, or at least showing some hints of a topping formation. SLV, not the same.
All right, there you have it from Joel Elconin, co-host of the Pre-Market Prep Show. Click that link in the show notes to hear what Joel is talking about every morning, stock-wise, sector-wise, market-wise. Joel, always great having you on the show, and always fun talking about these crazy markets. Have a great rest of your week there, Joel.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.